Okay, we're going to do the jeans hem test on the Juki model G210, and we've got the tension dialed all the way up to 8. We're using the gold thread on top for the top stitching. I'm using white thread that's medium weight in the bottom for the bobbin, so we can see how the thread looks once we've done the sewing. So that's pretty much it. I'm going to set my stitch length at 3.6. Now let's do 3.4. And I'm using the standard pressing foot, and so we're going to raise it. We're going to use the leveling pin as they suggest on heavier weight materials. And get my thread. Alright, here we go. Machine feeds very well. It's got that box feed system in it, and it feeds very straight. Just keep your fabric lined up against your edge guide, and it doesn't seem to be pulling one way or the other. Okay, make sure everything's turned under, coming up on that side seam, so let's see how it does on that. I'm going to use the leveling foot again once I get up here so it doesn't skip a stitch. Yeah, that seems thick, but it went through it okay. We're coming up on the side seam. Let me cut my threads off here so they don't get tangled up. Bottom thread's a lot shorter. There we go. Alright, we're going to go where I started, and I'm going to go one stitch over, and then I'm going to tack it off with a back stitch. Okay, that's where we started, so let's go ahead and do a back stitch or two. Go one forward, and then let's cut our thread. Let's see how we did. Okay, there's where we started and ended, and looks good there. Looks like I've got a little bit of white coming up, or no, maybe that's just the thread. Top stitching looks good. Looks like I need to tighten my tension in the bottom. I see a little bit of white on the top there, so that's easy enough to do. Just take the bobbin casing out and tighten it up a bit, but it definitely needs to be tightened. Top stitching looks good. Bottom looks good. I don't see any gold showing through. Let's see how we did on the side stitch. It looks good. I should have done a little bit better job of keeping that aligned. That's my mistake though. So I'll probably pull this out and redo it. But anyway, you need to make sure you keep those side seams lined up when you do this. I wasn't paying attention. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and tighten the bobbin tension, and I'm going to redo the test. And I'm going to pull these threads out, and we'll do it again. And let's see if we can get this looking good with tightening the bobbin tension. So I'll be right back. Okay, I've taken the top plate off here by taking 2 screws out, and we're going to tighten the tension on the bobbin. I don't know if you've ever done this before, but I thought I'd show you. When you take the case out here, you'll see that there's 2 screws. There's the outside one, and that's for holding the tension plate in place, and then this one on the inside is the one that actually tightens the tension. So we're going to turn it to the right to tighten it a bit. So we take a little bitty screwdriver and just turn it to the right a bit. And it was fairly loose, so I'm going to turn it about a little bit over 1/8 of a turn. Anytime you adjust your tension, usually 1/8 to a max of 1/4 of a turn is plenty, so don't overdo it. And then when we insert this back in, there's a little hook right here, a little stop, and you'll see a little stop that's metal on your machine here. This goes to the left side of it, so put it just to the left side of it when you slide it back in, and it will fit down in the case. And you'll see that there's there are some grooves that go in here, and it will fall right in and you should be good. So just kind of move it back and forth and make sure that it goes up against the little plate there, the hook that's on the bobbin case, and you should have it in properly. Okay, let me put this back together and we'll redo our test. Okay, we've got the bobbin tension tightened, and we're going to redo the seam here. I pulled all the thread out of it so we can do it again, and we're going to start just before the side seam again and go around and check our tension now. I wanted to show you how to tighten the tension on these systems because about half the machines that I receive I always have to tighten the bobbin tension a bit, so they seem to set it for lighter weight fabrics on these home machines when they come from the factory. So turn it about 1/8 to 1/4 of a turn depending on what you need. Again, you don't have to turn it very much, just turn it a little bit and test it. If it's not tight enough, turn it another 1/8 or so and test it again, and you should be good. Okay, so here we go. Get around that side seam and then we can go. It's turned around here. Okay, we're going to be coming up on this side seam. I'm going to go ahead and use the leveler on the foot for the heavy bumps that they recommend once we get up here. Yeah, until we're in that heavy seam now, so I want to make sure that thing stays good and level. You see, once we level it off, it's a lot easier on it. And we're off down the second side now. Go ahead and cut my thread off here at the beginning. Okay, we're coming up on where we started. We're going to go a stitch or two past that to lock it down a bit, and then we will do a back stitch or a tack stitch. A couple of those. Cut our thread, and let's see what we've got. Get rid of my threads on the back side here so it looks nice and clean. Okay. Everything out of the way. Okay, there's our starting seam and ending seam right there. So that's as good as anything I've ever seen on retail wear. So it looks good. See if our tightening of our tension helped. It did help. I still see a couple of little ones there, so I'll probably tighten it just a tad more. It just kind of shows you have to do a little bit at a time, and but it definitely needs to be tightened a little bit more, so I'm not going to go through that with you since I've showed it to you already. But the stitch looks good. I don't see any that were skipped. Side seam looks good right there. And I still see a little bit of white thread there, so yeah, I'd take it out and tighten it again, probably another 1/8 of a turn until that's not showing up. But the power of the machine's good. It gets through the jeans hem fine without any effort. Again, use the leveling foot on your normal presser foot when you get up on those seams, and you should be just fine. So that's it. Again, this is the Juki G210 in this test, and hopefully if you're considering this machine, it'll help you out in evaluating it. Take care.